Good morning. So, there's been some sort of concerns, like literally across all sort of the history classes about is that this sort of online working thing isn't working very well. Well, the first thing that I have to say is that this isn't limited to history online GCSE year 10 in Ilford. This is a global pandemic, and everybody all over the world is probably having a pretty difficult time. I don't know why they're having such a difficult time. If you look at basically any other issue in history ever, this is laughable. Some people are comparing this to World War II, which is just an indication that they know nothing about World War II, but that's besides the point. This isn't World War II, but this is obviously a challenging time. And yeah, things are pretty rough right now. But the good news is that you guys have the capabilities, all of you, to, if you want to, if you're one of the people showing up on Google Classroom messaging me saying, I don't get this, that's a really good thing. The reason why is because it shows that you're still trying. And when you're still trying, everything's going to work out fine, I promise. So, and the other thing is there's a real life lesson right here as well is that you're not necessarily, well, no, basically one thing I can promise you is that for your whole life, you have one person you can depend on, and that's yourself. Is that your teachers are going to fail you. Your parents are going to fail you. Your brother, sister, whatever, are all going to fail you. Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever you got going on, your wife, husband, whatever you got going on there, they are going to fail you. The only person that you can depend on slightly is yourself. You're not going to have a teacher there to break down what the hell happened with Queen Elizabeth. You're really not always, right? Right now is perfect evidence of that. So what do you have in front of you? Well, fortunately, is you have the textbook in front of you. And I understand that stuff is that's insanely high level. I just read it this morning. It hurt my brain. And I'm somewhat smart. Not that smart, but kind of smart. And the point is that maybe the only thing you can do is walk away and hold on to one little bit of information. But check this out. Basically, you hang on to one little bit of information and it starts to grow information and it starts to create a web. It really does. Is that, okay, I sat there, I looked at the textbook scans that were uploaded, and okay, well, I got one little piece. Maybe I understood about, okay, hold on, religion, Catholic, Protestants, one piece. All right, well then Queen Elizabeth, okay, how does she all, oh, she was a Protestant, okay, there's another piece, right? And then, well, hold on, if we look at Spain, is that, well, I know that Spain was an issue, and then something about a guy named King Philip II, well, there's another piece. And then, well, hold on, if I know that Catholics and Protestants are having beef, and Elizabeth is a Protestant, and King Philip II is a Catholic, what's that going to do for Spain and England's relation? Right? And then, hold on, in the Spanish Netherlands, the Dutch are rebelling against the Spanish. Well, what does that mean? What does that imply? And then that connects as well, right? And then you just form a whole map of knowledge. And it's really difficult. You sit there, you read the textbook, and maybe you just get one little bit of information. But then it all starts to connect. And that's why it's so important to be revising and revisiting all of these ideas. And that, by the way, is how so many people learn, right? Some people have a photographic memory. Great, go have a cup of coffee. I don't care. I sure as hell don't. So where does that leave me? Well, I was reading a book. The best book I read this year is about a Russian spy. He's working for the USSR, thinks he's working for them. He's not. He's gets posted in England, and all he does is spill about everything that's going on with the KGB. And so what he would do is he would go into the Kremlin and look at all these files, and all he would do is connect small little bits of information, right? That's all he would do. And basically, he would come back to the UK, he would sit down, and he would just recite point information, and then he'd be able to link them all. And by the way, he managed to avoid nuclear war in the 1980s by doing that, by feeding Thatcher all of that information. just by, because he can't bring these files out. He has to remember it. So what would he do? Well, he'd remember the points, and then he would be able to link all of them. And he didn't have a photographic memory. So that's all that's happening right here, is that everything that we've been looking at, can really quickly just be summarized into these points. That's it. And then, okay, so what do you know about religion? What do you know about the Dutch Revolt? What do you know about Mary Queen of Scots? How do those things connect? And then, because you guys are all sitting in isolation, you don't have a teacher to explain it to, well then, how can I connect these bits of information to the previous ones? How does all this result in the Spanish Armada? Who the hell is Francis Drake? Well, I'll tell you that right now, actually, because Francis Drake is the easiest thing that I could ever teach anybody ever, because he's such an unimaginably badass, is that he's hired by Queen Elizabeth to essentially create as much catastrophes for Spain and Philip II as possible. His job is to go to the New World, and if he comes across any Spanish port or any Spanish ships, is to loot as much of their gold and sink as many of their ships as possible. And then, he was hired to go to the New World, which is basically the Americas. He circles around them, goes up the Pacific coast of North America, basically where I'm from, and then he circumnavigates the entire world, becoming the second person to do so in world history. So that's tight. Then, because of everything that's happening, with everything you guys have been reading, is essentially tensions are increasing more and more and more between Spain and England. A lot to do with this Dutch Revolt. And I know, once again, you might be unclear as to what the Dutch Revolt is. Go have a read back. Just read the textbook again. Maybe some more of these bullet points are going to stick. But because of this tension in between Elizabeth and Philip II then the Treaty of Joinville starts to be signed. And what that does is ally France and Spain. Well, Catholic Spain and Catholic French, and that sucks for England because they're Protestant. So once the Treaty of Joinville is signed, then another treaty comes about, which is the Treaty of Non-Such, which is essentially the Elizabethan response to that. That treaty really supports Protestant Netherlands against Spain, which effectively makes Elizabeth at war with Spain. Her first act of war is, hey, Francis Drake, the dude from Uncharted 4's ancestor. I need you to sail down to Cadiz, which I actually lived in for a month, by the way. It's like, it'd be about right here. We need you to go around here, and because you're such a badass, we need you to just blow up the entire port, and he does. And then that significantly slows down the Spanish response. And then eventually is that Spain does respond, and it's what we call the Spanish Armada of 1588, and it might be the most significant battle in British history. We should all be speaking Spanish because of it, but we're not, because by some miracle England won. So it is loads of information, but it's just about organizing the information. Get those ideas down. How do they connect? What can you remember about them? Put it together, right? Draw a map. Who's doing what and where? Try your best. Stay at it and stay cozy.